Good morning, this is Ken from Bolt On Hooks, boltonhooks.com, Bolt On Hooks LLC. Today we're going to show our newest product, the right-hand door kit for the John Deere 3 and 4 series cabs. If you have one of these machines, you'll know that this door does not stay open, and anytime you're trying to work in the cab, either to operate the joystick or the rockshaft or to clean your cab out, this door is constantly hitting you and closing on you. So we've created this kit that adds a bracket and a gas cylinder to the right-hand door, just the way the left-hand door works. So in the kit, in the bag will be instructions, will be a wood shim. We'll show this in a little bit why you need a piece of wood. The gas cylinder itself, and we have the two brackets that we're going to install on the machine in just a second. Common tools you're going to need a 7/32 drill bit and either a small drill or a smaller impact. If you don't have one, we'll show a workaround where you can use a larger drill if that's all you have. 7/32 bit, you'll need a small clamp. This is a F clamp or a small C clamp to hold the bracket while you drill the holes. You'll need a 10mm wrench or socket to hold the nut under here on the 3Rs and 4R tractors when you have to remove the console. You'll need a 7/16 wrench and preferably a number 3 Phillips screwdriver. It has a bigger tip. It fits the screws in the console well, and it fits the screws in the cab side bracket a little bit better than a number 2 Phillips does. If all you have is a number 2, it'll work, but a number 3 is really preferred.
Okay, we had some audio issues with our new microphone system. As soon as I sat down in a cab, I put it on mute. So the rest of the video will be me talking you through the process. With the right-hand door closed and latched tightly, we're going to remove the front bolt from the hinge plate and put the bracket on with it facing down like shown in the video. Then we're going to put the bolt back in and make it fairly snug, but so we can still swing the bracket up. After we take the second bolt out, we'll swing the bracket up and reinstall the second bolt. Having a helper hold the hinge plate tightly on the outside really ensures that the hinge plate won't move and the door won't lose alignment during this process. This is really important. Once both bolts are in, we're going to snug them up to about 35 inch-pounds, or a really good snug. Next, we're going to remove the 3 bolts holding the console down. We have to shift it out of the way a bit. If you have a helper, it helps to have them hold the nut underneath of the rear bolt on the 3R and 4R tractors. These bolts are often corroded under there, and it helps to clean them with a wire brush and put some penetrating oil on them first before trying to remove it. Only the rear bolt has this nut. Next, we're going to remove the one around the trim piece around the rock shaft. You may not have to remove this, I'm not sure, but I do it anyway. And then the third one is in the little cubby hole next to the joystick. After the 3 bolts are removed, you can try to lift the console up some. It's caught in the rear under the weather strip a little bit, and some tabs in the front. Okay, there you see the front come up there. And now we have enough room in the side there to get access to drill and make sure there's no wires in the way when we do drill the holes. Now we're going to work on the cab side bracket. First, we're going to take the wire retainers out of the ball ends and put them aside. With both wire retainers removed, we're going to snap the base end or the fat side of the cylinder onto the door side bracket, and this rod end or the skinny side of the cylinder onto the cab side bracket. Now, with the door tied open tightly with a bungee cord and the cable stop at the top of the door snug, we're going to insert this wood shim in the space between the metal plate there and the fender, making enough room for this cab side bracket to slide down in between. Some models may require more pressure than others to get this done. You want the top of the T of the bracket to be parallel with the metal strip there. Then once that's in place, you can lift up the shim a little bit to help clamp it in. And now we're going to take the small clamp that you have, either like an F-style welding clamp or a small C-clamp like I have there in my right hand, and you're going to clamp the bracket to that metal strip snugly. Clamp it off to one side a little bit to make sure that you have room for the drill bit and the drill to get the rear hole drilled. And here we're just making sure that the bungee cord is holding the door open all the way without flexing the door, and the cable stop at the top of the door is snug. That way everything's held in position before we drill the holes. If your drill and bit combo is too big to fit in here, you can take a 13mm wrench or socket and remove the bolt from the cable retainer at the top of the door, right there. This will allow the door to swing open more to give you more access after you pop this new cylinder off one of the ball mounts. You just want to make sure you keep track of the door, don't let it get away from you. We have a small drill driver, so we don't need to move the door. Drill in the rear hole first. Takes a little bit to get through there. Maybe our drill bit was just a little bit dull. Then we move the clamp back some to get access to the front hole. Next we'll drill the front hole. After this we used a vacuum cleaner to get up all the shavings off the fender. You don't want to brush them away because you can scratch the fender with the metal filings. Once the holes are drilled and everything's cleaned up, remove the clamp and then lift up the cab side bracket and move it to the inside of the metal strip you just drilled through. You may want to file the holes in the rear of the plate before doing this step. Now comes the real fun part, getting the nuts on the back of the bolts of the cab side bracket. You want to be real careful not to drop the nuts down in the console here. They'll roll down in the bottom and be real hard to get out, if not impossible. So I'm holding the nut with my fingers in a box end 7/16 wrench. And I'll put it up against the bracket, keeping my finger on the back side so it doesn't come out. Then back the bolt out a little bit and try to get it started with my fingers before I reach for the number 3 Phillips screwdriver. Once you get that snugged up, you can repeat that process for the front bolt and nut. If the front bolt doesn't want to go through the bracket, it may have shifted some when you move the clamp, so you might have to ream the hole out with your drill bit after the rear bolt is in place. After that, you can insert the bolt easily and tighten up both bolts. Okay, now that both bolts are in, we can take the bungee cord off of the door and see the fruits of our labor. The door stays open now. Isn't that fantastic? Now we're checking again. The door is up against the cable retainer, so the door can't overextend the cylinder or pull the brackets. And you close the door just like you would the left-hand door. When you open it, the cylinder pushes the door open all the way, just like the left side does. The final step is going to be to reinstall the 2 wire retainers into the ball ends once you know everything is correct. Now finally we are reinstalling the console. We already have it in place. This can be a challenging process, but take your time and don't force it. Getting the front started before the rear is very helpful here. And finally, tighten up the 3 bolts. And there you have it. We're sitting in the cab and talking. Certainly couldn't do that before easily. One downside here is that since there's no handle, like on the left side door, you have to really reach to get the door closed. And that's it, folks. Thank you very much. Goodbye.